And here I thought I would just be spending today playing video games.
Xbox,
Twitter, Uber,
Postmates,
Netflix, MoviePass,
Google, Facebook, eBay,
DoorDash,
Apple, Amazon, Airbnb,
The Apptrepreneur. Hey everyone, this is Kevin the Apptrepreneur, and we got a lot to cover today, so let's just get to the point. Uber and Lyft just lost another battle in California. And yes, you heard me right. It seems like AB5 has progressed in the Senate. Here it is. Uber drivers in California are one step closer to becoming Uber employees. On Friday, state senators on the Appropriations Committee voted for AB5, a controversial bill that would require companies to classify workers as employees, not independent contractors, with few exceptions. And despite an aggressive lobbying campaign, Uber and Lyft were not exempted. Lawmakers voted 5-2 to send the bill to the Senate floor for a final vote. If AB5 passes the full Senate, it would essentially disrupt a business model championed and cherished by Silicon Valley. That is the we get to screw you as much as we want, collect as much money as we want, and we'll do it with impunity. That's essentially that's the Silicon Valley model. Reclassifying them as employees would change everything. Gig workers would get labor protections and benefits that all employees get, such as unemployment insurance, health care subsidies, paid paternal leave, overtime pay, workers' compensation, paid rest breaks, and a guaranteed $12 an hour minimum hourly wage. And perhaps more importantly, they would be able to unionize. The added cost of these benefits is why gig companies are so desperate for a compromise. No, they're not. They are not desperate for a compromise. Because here's the thing. I have mentioned this over and over and over again. Uber and Lyft did not need to let it get to this point. They did not. They could have paid the drivers great all this time. They could have not been cutting the rates. They could have had the drivers on the side. Look, again, I tell people all the time, go back 2 years ago, this very channel, when this stuff was first starting to come up, I was defending Uber and Lyft. I actually said at one point, like, those of you who want to be employees, who want to unionize, you're fools. You're fools. You don't want to do this. I'm on a very different opinion now because I could not comprehend. At the time, I was making like $1.85 a mile. Yeah, the rates went a little low. They weren't over $2, but I was still making very good money. And here's the thing, I was never a full-time driver. However, when I called it, I was making full-time money with part-time work, and I loved it. I was more selective on the rides I took. I never embraced the grind. I think there was only a couple days that I drove 8 hours, really. I think most days I drove 5 hours, and I called it a day because I made a few $100s, and that's all I really needed. To do that every single day, work 5 to 6 hours, yeah, you make a lot of money. If you woke up early enough and did an airport run, heck, there were some Mondays, 2 hours doing airport runs. I made over $200. Hey, that's my day. I'm going to go home. I'm going to play video games. I'm going to take a big nap. So I was so in defense of Uber and Lyft, but I did not anticipate 60 cents a mile, and now it's 35 cents a mile for Lyft. But here's the thing. Lyft cut their rates in the middle of this. So no, these companies are not looking for a compromise. They are looking to get away with as much as they can. Let's see here. They didn't get one on Friday, but they're hoping to strike a deal. Not going to happen. We stand committed to make the necessary changes to our business to do right by drivers and ensure this first-of-its-kind framework becomes a reality in California, the company wrote in a post published on Medium. Uber promised to give drivers a minimum pay of $21 per hour while dropping off and picking up passengers, and a legal right to influence company decisions that affect them. Yeah, no, that hasn't. If you truly believe that, it would have been happening the whole time. In fact, here's the thing. You want to know how much Uber and Lyft oppose this. They have already committed to $90 million to fight this legislation and put it on a ballot. Look at this. A bill in California's legislature could soon force ride-hailing companies like Uber and Lyft to treat their drivers as employees instead of independent contractors. But Uber and Lyft, which contend that changing the legal status of their drivers poses a fundamental threat to their business, said Thursday they would spend $60 million on a ballot initiative that would essentially exempt them from the proposed law. After their announcement, DoorDash, the food delivery service, said it would contribute an additional $30 million. You gotta love how companies who are sworn mortal enemies all come together when the thought of not being able to screw with impunity your workforce actually comes closer to reality. That's when they start to work together, and it's like, hey, no. We want to still be screwing them. We want to be pounding them in the butt. We want to be doing that as much as possible. So we'll contribute $90 million so we can still... Sorry for being graphic, folks. It's Saturday. I'm supposed to be playing Xbox today. Instead, I'm talking about these idiots. So anyway, drivers for Uber, Lyft, and DoorDash work as independent contractors, logging in, yada, yada. Is there anything else in this article? Okay, here's the thing. As the bill that could give drivers employment status, Assembly Bill 5, winds its way through the legislature, Uber and Lyft have urged a compromise that would allow drivers to remain independent contractors. They can still be independent contractors with AB5. You just got to give them freedoms that they need to have. But the bill sponsor, Assemblywoman Lorena Gonzalez, a Democrat from San Diego, has said she does not foresee a deal with the companies. Billionaires who say they can't pay minimum wage to their workers say they will spend tens of millions to avoid labor laws. Ms. Gonzalez wrote on Twitter on Thursday, "Just pay your damn workers." Yeah, that I feel like that. Yeah, just pay your damn workers, Uber. Just pay your damn workers. I mean, look at this. Look at this money that you're spending. I mean, God, if you guys spent that money to pay your drivers better and work out a system, and you did it years ago, months ago even, and you could have avoided all of this. You know, Abigail Disney is a low-wage activist. She is the granddaughter of a very famous entrepreneur you might have heard about. Now, her grandfather is deceased and no longer running the company he founded. However, the company is still going very strong. Theme parks, merchandise, buying up things like Pixar, Star Wars. You get the joke, but I'm going to try to avoid saying the name. Well, here's the thing. She wrote an open letter to Bob Iger, the CEO of this company. He had just received a $53 million pay raise while the cast members and the employees of the theme parks the company owns were basically living in their cars. Sounds very similar to Uber and Lyft drivers, right? And she calculated, I don't know in all fairness if this is true. My math sucks. And that has been demonstrated time and time again on this channel. But she estimated that that bonus could have gone towards giving all the employees a living wage, which was basically $20 an hour, and the CEO would still get a $10 million paycheck. And what was wrong with that? Well, I mean, the people who get the $53 million paychecks, they'd have to explain that one to me. I mean, granted, I'm a fairly easygoing guy. I get happy when I get like $1,000 bonus because that's just how much money I can save. If I got $53 million, I don't know what I'd do with it. Maybe I'd buy a movie pass and see if I can't turn the company around. I mean, it's worth less than $2 million, but aside from that, I don't know what I'd do with that money. I mean, continuously growing it wouldn't be that interesting to me. So I would probably sign the Boulder Pledge and give most of it away. But here's the thing. That was like $43 million she was talking about that could pay for that. Now, granted, Uber and Lyft are on a more global scale, but look at that figure. $90 million. My goodness. You can take that money and you can truly do what you must to take care of your drivers and make sure they're fair. Is there anything else in this article that's interesting about this? A vote on the bill is expected before the legislative session ends in mid-September. That means time is running out for Uber and Lyft to strike a bargain. The company said their proposed ballot initiative would preserve drivers' abilities to set their own schedules. By the way, even if AB5 passes, they can still set their own schedules. That's something you choose, guys. While Uber and Lyft would offer concession on minimum wage standards, health benefits, and collective bargaining rights. Yeah, I mean, again, you are you are decreasing the rates during strikes, protests, and AB5 potentially passing. If this is how you are acting in the face of overwhelmingly likely legislation, how on earth are you going to act when that fear is no longer there? Huh, Uber? What's the deal? Anyway, in an email to drivers that urged them to contact their local lawmakers, Uber said it would guarantee a minimum wage of $21 per hour while a driver had a passenger or was on the way to pick one up. See, that's always how they word it. As long as you're on the... That's the thing. And now, granted, here's the thing. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with it. I mean, I agree. You should be getting paid when you've got a passenger in the car. Dead miles, if you're independent, technically do not count. However, that all they do is they promise, because here's the thing. It's very easy to make up, even with their poor rates, it's very easy to make this $21 an hour, even with all the dead miles. Uber and Lyft promise right now over $30 an hour if you are constantly taking someone. Why on earth are they making a lowball figure? They should be offering $40 an hour. Then I can guarantee you the drivers would perk up and they'd start listening. But this is nothing to most of them. The company said that they would also push for so-called sectoral bargaining, which would allow drivers across the ride-hailing industry to band together in labor negotiations. And I bet you they would be hand-picked, kind of like their Uber advisory board. With the Uber advisory board, which we make fun of all the time on the podcast, we need to do another episode about that. Now all this stuff is going down, maybe we'll do another podcast soon. But yeah, the Uber advisory board is this joke of a board where they say that we pull in real drivers and we sit them down, we have them talk about Uber. And apparently in these meetings, rates never come up. The drivers are always 100% happy with how Uber is treating them and respecting them, and things just get worse. Because Uber picks people who are probably not likely to complain, and if they do complain, they probably don't even share that information, because they control the narrative, in a sense. I mean, they control the narrative a lot less these days. I mean, they just had a caravan going across the state, and that really didn't look good. So, anyway, yeah, $90 million. They can't spend $90 million to help pay their drivers or make the app better or help them make more money. But they can sure as heck spend $90 million. And granted, DoorDash is part of this, I acknowledge. They can sure spend this kind of money to fight the drivers, to pick a fight with the drivers and get something on the ballot. Well, I would like to end this off with our buddy Aaron from Jalopnik. His headline says right here, Uber and Lyft don't have a right to exist. And on Wednesday, Uber and Lyft released a new petition against Assembly Bill 5, the California bill about to be debated in the Senate that, if passed, would almost certainly result in gig economy workers being designated as employees in the state rather than independent contractors. Uber and Lyft fear AB5 could tank their business, their right to be afraid. The petition includes a series of lame offers from the ride-hail companies that ring hollow to anyone familiar with their business. Moreover, it only underscores the need for AB5 to apply to rideshare drivers because it demonstrates Uber and Lyft still don't get the problem that is trying to be solved, that of their incongruous existence. I love this guy. I really do. AB5 would suck Uber, Lyft, and other gig economy platforms out of their legal vacuum and into well-defined orbits of labor law. It would be doing so in a way that tracks the reality of the businesses and a common-sense definition of what an employee is. This, the companies contend, would be unacceptable, so they're fighting like hell. The rideshare companies are now offering to ensure drivers would earn a minimum of approximately $21 an hour while on a trip, including the cost of their average expenses. This is very much not a minimum wage of $21 per hour, as it's been widely framed in the media, because it only applies while on a trip, and drivers typically spend 40 to 60% of their time on the app is either open, waiting for their next fare, or is in transit to it. The Uber and Lyft pretzel logic is as follows. Pay attention. I want everyone to pay attention to this, even the people who are super duper Uber defenders. Pay attention to this sentence, because this somehow makes the most sense and yet no sense at all when describing Uber and Lyft. Drivers are their customers and also independent contractors, but cannot negotiate prices or any terms of their contract. Uber and Lyft are platforms, not transportation companies. Drivers unionizing would be price fixing, but Uber and Lyft can price fix all they want. Riders pay the driver for their transportation, not the platform, even though the platforms are the ones that set the prices and collect the money and allocate it however they want, often such that the driver does not in fact receive much of the rider's fare. I love you, Aaron. Aaron, if you ever want to come on this channel to do like just a conversation, I will be more than happy to have you. If you think about that last paragraph was aggressively confusing, it is. Uber and Lyft lack a coherent story for what they are. It is an amalgam of legal necessities in order to reach the only conclusion that keeps them in business. Drivers are not employees, they are not a transportation company. And that's what AB5 is hoping to clear up. Now, here's the end of it, because this is I think this is just as important. AB5 seeks to clean up the independent contractor mess that Uber and Lyft have exploited. Insofar as it is not a perfect piece of legislation, and to any extent Uber and Lyft feel it reaches too far into their core business. They have no one to blame but themselves. They had ample opportunity to rationalize their company's labor force. They have not only failed to do so, but have fought every effort tooth and nail. As a result, not only have gig economy companies forfeited any claim they can fix the problem themselves with well-intentioned policy changes, but they should be given no regulatory bailout from the mess they have made. There is a version of Uber and Lyft that might be profitable even if drivers are employees, but it is a much humbler one. It is one that uses the genuine efficiencies of app-based taxi hailing, the very ones Uber and Lyft claims is their actual secret sauce other than widespread worker exploitation, to get a smaller number of drivers more customers for each of them. To be sure, it is likely a low-margin business, one that carefully evaluates markets before exploding into them. It doesn't provide 14 million trips a day on 6 continents or ignite opportunity by setting the world in motion. It is probably not a $50 billion company, but it is one that pays its workers fairly. So yeah, love all these articles. I'm going to include all of them, including the one about the heiress, in the link below. But yeah, it's going to be heating up. Uber and Lyft just keep losing. I think this is going to happen. And yeah, we're going to have to... There is a part of me that's both excited and terrified. It's excited because I do think this is what we need. We need regulation. Uber and Lyft they're out of control. They are absolutely out of control. And then there's a little trepidation because there are some potential bad things that can come from this. I'm not stupid. I know that. And yet, here's the thing. When Uber starts talking about like, hey, we're going to pay $21 an hour, we're going to reach agreement, and then they threaten to fight tooth and nail with $90 million that could be used to pay their drivers, I have to wonder sometimes, like, what do you really want? And again, Uber, Lyft, DoorDash, Postmates, you don't have a right to exist. You should be a profitable company that takes care of your employees and your customers, which apparently your employees are your customers in this case, and you should grow up and stop trying to circumvent the law. But they will try to do that until they absolutely cannot do it anymore. So anyway, that's where we're going to leave it. That was a fairly long video for a Saturday. Now I'm going to go play my video games. But what do you all think? I would love to know. So comment below, like, favorite, share, subscribe. If you enjoy my videos, consider becoming a Patreon member. It's totally optional, of course, but even as little as $1 a month goes a long way to helping the channel run smoothly, and you get access to my Patreon's exclusive blog. Also, if gas prices get you just a little down, check out the Get Upside app below. It's totally free, but you get cash back on every gas purchase. If you want more content from me that's not rideshare related, check out my other YouTube channel, the Apptrepreneur Vlogs, Kevin T. Rodriguez, and Autograph Hound. And finally, if you want to talk to me or other fellow rideshare drivers out there, check us out at the Apptrepreneur Hangouts on Facebook. And as always, flame responsibly. Have a good one.